Hey, Raul here for Bass Musician Magazine, and we have some news which we're going to be sharing as it gets closer to the date, but needless to say, I can tell you that I'm going to be doing some traveling with some of my basses. When I found this out, of course, I was really worried because they're my favorite basses and I want them very protected. Right now, they've been living in gig bags and that gets me around town just fine. So I turned to the person who knows the most about how to take care of your gear, especially moving it from one place to another, and that is my friend Jay Baltimore at Gruv Gear. I described my situation. I told him that these are precious cargo and I want them as absolutely protected as they could be, and his recommendation was the Kapsule Duo. So we're going to take a close look at the Kapsule Duo. I'll give you some details, and I'll share some insights once all of this is done. Let's check it out. Let's look what's inside the box that comes with the Kapsule Duo. To start out with, there is the case itself, and we'll talk about that a little in depth. Then when you open the instrument compartment, you're going to find a divider because this is a 2-bass case, and it has built in kind of a mesh pouch on both level, and it has a neck cradle so that you can position your bass. It has two, I'm going to call them bumper cushions, and they are upholstered the same way that the rest of this is, in kind of a nice, thick, cushiony, it's not corduroy, but it looks kind of like corduroy. It's very smooth and it's very, feels really good, kind of a microfiberish kind of stuff. In addition to that, there is a small pack that when you unzip it, you will find two 52mm wheels in there. And these look like skateboard wheels, so these are really smooth running, neat kind of wheels. Lastly, there is a humidifying system, and this is from Boveda. And basically the way this works is a very clever design, and I have to actually get it installed. I'm holding on so that I activate it right before we go, but it will keep your instruments at a balanced humidity, which is really important. I'm going to a much drier climate, and so if you're in a humid climate, they actually will wick humidity out of the air to keep it at this one fixed humidity. If it's dry, they add humidity into the case so that things are staying again at this steady, so it can either add or take away. So it's brilliant, and this is what those mesh pouches I talked about, that's what this is for. They're for this humidifying system here by Boveda. Next, let's look at the case itself. The first thing you're going to notice is a very rugged kind of fabric. It is, I'm not sure what it's made out of, but it feels very nice and strong for the outer compartment. When you open that up, you will find 4 pockets that have zippers. There are 4 different compartments of different sizes, and very easily you could fit clothes, probably anywhere for 2 to 5 days, depending on how you dress. But you could have all your clothes. You might not need an additional carry-on if you're flying with it, because you've got all your stuff in here. If you're not taking your clothes and other toiletries and whatnot, you could put gear. The biggest one looks like you might be able to fit a head in here. You might be able to fit your preamp. You might be able to put some pedals, cables, strap, you name it. The accessories that you want to take with you, they could live in these if you're not taking your other stuff. In addition, the zipper on this layer, they've got this little circle-y kind of thing that meshes into each other that you can put a small lock on. So you can put a TSA lock on this outer compartment and protect whatever you've got in there as well. Now we go to the harder portion of this. This is a polycarbonate ABS shell on the outside. And this thing is super strong, but super light by the same token. Now, granted, the whole thing is 18 pounds, so they still went with something that's going to be protective enough to give you strength, but by the same token, not weigh a ton. The interior fabrics look like, again, they're soft, but they also look like they're very rugged. When you look inside, as I mentioned, you've got the 2 layers to nest your instruments, and these foam bars, they don't attach, but they squeeze in nicely kind of at the bottom of the bass so that it can kind of find where it wants to fit best. And I have in the two basses, I'm protecting one custom bass and I'm protecting my 70s Fernandez. They have very different shapes, and yet each one of them fits quite nicely in here, like they knew what I was going to put in here. Now, the disclaimer they always say, it will not fit instruments with certain shapes. So if you are trying to travel with a Flying V or a Thunderbird or maybe a reverse Thunderbird, I don't think this is going to work for you. I mean, you could try, but I think most regular shapes, you'd be good to go with this. When we close this side, you've got a TSA lock, and that's great. You can program it with a 3-digit combination, and it has the key port for TSA agents to be able to check it. In addition to that, it has a travel tracking for global recovery with a homing pin tag. So if this were to get lost in some airport somewhere, they know they can scan it and they can get it back to you. And of course, you'd have to register it. Next, we need to look at the handles, and I'm seeing 3 handles. 2 of them are kind of fabric and they have cushion inside. The other feels almost like a rubbery kind of handle, but it is cushioned as well. They're nice and thick. They will fit your hand. That helps distribute. When you have thick straps like this, it distributes the weight so that you're not carrying something thin in your hand. It gives you a nice, easy grasp here. The cloth strap at the top of the case is designed for you to work with these cool wheels. And these wheels, they snap on, they slide in. It's kind of a dovetail situation where they slide in from the middle and they lock on. And so those won't be coming off, and you can unlock. They're easy to take off. So you could do that in a heartbeat, but they will go on easily. And then you can just truck pulling the big handle at the top, and that should roll quite easily. Now, the last of the handles is right above the strap compartment, and there are times where you're going to want to grab it kind of in that upright position. Maybe if you're standing around, it's a good place to hold it, but that is above this heavily padded strap compartment. If you unzip down the middle, what you find inside are 2 very nicely padded straps. Those at the end connect to these half moon rings, so you could wear this as a gig bag if you wanted to, and that leaves you with your hands free to do other things as well. So if you are juggling another bag, or if you're holding on to your kid running around, you could easily have this on your back, and it looks like that it sits at a place you've got so much cushioning, it would be very comfortable to do it that way. Oh, and it's got nice plastic feet on the bottom, so if it's standing upright, it is got a nice protected place. So if you're standing in line at the airport, they've got you covered. You don't have to have this all splayed out. It'd be straight up and down. So it's amazing when you look at the details and the construction and how they have minimized the external footprint and yet given you all of these protective features. So I am feeling really good at transporting my favorite basses in the Kapsule Duo. Okay, so there you have it. I'm not going to be able to show you how things turn out because my trip isn't until next year. However, make sure you stay tuned, and as soon as I have arrived at my destination and my basses are intact, as I'm sure they will be, I will let you know in the comments on this very same video. I will update the video so that you know. So if you are thinking of traveling, if you've got to go by air, you know you got to deal with TSA. Maybe you don't want to take a lot of luggage. You're going to be gone a few days with the extra compartment on the top. There are so many features, and it's trackable, and there's many, many things that just stand out that this is an extraordinary case for 2 basses. In this instance, they do make a single, the Kapsule, just a regular Kapsule, and that's with a K. So if you want more information, make sure you go to groovgear.com. And I will mention one last thing. Was looking at the tracking tags. They're actually out of those, and they don't know if they'll get them back. However, I'm looking into maybe perhaps an AirTag, and it'll do the exact same thing, and it'll work perfectly with my Apple system. So again, this has been the Kapsule Duo. This has been Raul for Bass Musician Magazine, bringing you the latest in the world of bass, protecting my most precious instruments with a Gruv Gear Kapsule Duo.